you must understand the surprising event. It began on a morning that seemed like any other, when the light poured through the curtains softly, painting the room in shades of gold and warmth, and I thought the day would be ordinary, a repetition of familiar patterns, the steady rhythm of life's unremarkable hours. But there was something in the air, an unspoken electricity, like the air before a storm, a tension you can't name but can feel, a pulse in the unseen fabric of the world. I walked through the streets, each step echoing on the pavement, and the faces I passed seemed more alive than usual, eyes glimmering with secrets, smiles hiding truths, as if everyone but me had read the script of what was to come. The sky was the same blue it had always been, yet there was a depth to it today, a sharpness, as though it was waiting too. You must understand, I was not looking for miracles, nor was I prepared for revelations. I believed in the comfort of repetition, in the safety of what is known. But life does not ask permission to rearrange your world. It does not knock before entering. It simply throws open the door and dares you to step through. It happens suddenly, not like the slow turning of seasons or the gradual dimming of light at dusk, but like lightning, instant, blinding, and forever altering what it touches. A voice called my name from somewhere behind, and I turned, expecting a familiar face, but instead there stood a stranger who felt more familiar than anyone I had ever met. Their eyes held stories I somehow recognized, as if they had walked beside me in dreams, as if they had been the silent witness to every joy, every sorrow, every secret moment of my life. I could not speak at first. The world had grown hushed. The passing cars, the murmurs of people, even the wind in the trees, all paused to watch. They smiled, and the smile was not polite, not the kind exchanged between strangers. It was the smile of someone who knows what you are about to feel before you feel it. And in that moment, 1,000 questions bloomed inside me. Who are you? Why do I feel like I've been waiting for you? How did you find me here? But I could ask none of them, for they stepped closer, and with a voice that trembled and yet was sure, they said, "You don't remember yet, but you will." The air thickened around us, as though the very molecules were listening, waiting, and then it began. The unfolding. They spoke of things I had never told a soul, things buried so deep, I had convinced myself they never existed. They spoke of a letter I once wrote and tore into pieces, yet somehow they knew every word. They spoke of a night I had cried quietly into my pillow, and they named the reason why. I felt stripped bare, as though my soul was being held in their hands, and yet there was no fear, only the strange peace that comes when you are seen completely, when nothing is hidden, and still you are not turned away. You must understand, this was the surprising event, not a disaster, not a grand celebration, but the moment the walls I had built crumbled without warning, the moment the life I thought I knew was revealed as only the surface of a deeper truth. They told me they had been searching across cities and years, following threads invisible to others, because there was something unfinished between us. They told me that the day I left without saying goodbye, it had not been the end, only a pause in a story that still had many chapters to be lived. But I didn't remember any goodbye. I didn't remember ever meeting them. I didn't remember a story that belonged to us. And yet, my heart remembered. It beat faster in recognition. It reached forward, even as my mind resisted. because sometimes the soul remembers what the mind has forgotten. We walked together through the city, their presence both foreign and inevitable. They pointed out places as though we had been there together before. A cafe on the corner, a park bench beneath the old elm tree, a bridge where the river whispered secrets. And each place brought with it flashes, fragments of images, a laugh that felt like mine, a touch on the hand, a promise spoken in the dark. By the time the sun began to set, painting the world in amber and fire, I was no longer certain what was memory and what was imagination. But I knew this. My life had been tilted into a new orbit. There would be no going back. We reached the edge of the city, where the lights were distant and the sky grew vast. They turned to me, their eyes reflecting both the sadness of what had been lost and the hope of what could still be found. And they said, "This is where we begin again." I did not ask how or why. I simply took their hand, because some events do not require understanding, only surrender. And as we walked into the unknown, I felt the weight of my old life fall away, replaced by the strange and thrilling truth that the most surprising events are the ones we never thought to dream of. And you must understand, from that day onward, I was never the same. It began quietly, as if the world wanted to disguise it in the folds of an ordinary day. The sky was pale blue, the kind that looks almost painted, and the air was still, as though waiting for something it could not name. I woke up without any thought that my life would change before sunset. The streets outside my window looked familiar. The sound of footsteps, the hum of traffic, all the small details that make you believe nothing extraordinary could happen here. But you must understand, life has a habit of hiding the most important moments inside days that look exactly like every other. I stepped out, thinking only of where I was going, my hands in my pockets, my eyes fixed ahead. People passed by me, some talking into phones, some lost in their own private worlds. And yet, there was something in their faces, as though they carried a secret that I didn't know. Their smile seemed a little sharper, their eyes a little deeper, like they had already read the next page of a story I didn't realize I was in. I stopped for coffee at a small shop on the corner, the same one I'd visited hundreds of times. The barista greeted me with the usual nod, but his eyes flicked toward the door before he handed me the cup. I turned, and there they were, a stranger, standing just inside the doorway, watching me as if they had been searching for me long before this moment. And though I knew I had never seen them before, my heart reacted like it had been waiting for this face all its life. They walked toward me slowly, their footsteps steady, each one louder in my ears than the last. When they spoke my name, the sound of it felt different, as though it had always belonged on their tongue. And I froze, because they didn't say it like a question, but like a memory. I wanted to ask how they knew me, but the words died in my throat, and all I could do was listen. "You don't remember," they said softly, "but you will." The cafe noise faded. The city noise faded. It was as if the entire world had stepped back to give us space. They began to speak, not about where they came from, but about me. They told me things I had never told another soul. A dream I once had as a child. A night I stood in the rain alone and whispered to the sky. A letter I wrote and destroyed because I feared its truth. Every detail, exact, as if they had been there beside me all along.